Sue, do you know the Australian government had me for decades be the after sales service for the Commonwealth Serum Laboratories, CSL, and the Australian Red Cross Blood Service? I had a telephone number. When I say they got me to be it, they didn't pay me. Oh no, they didn't want me. They said this thing didn't happen. They said that Australia's deadliest medical scandal. How do we know it's the deadliest? It's a good question. How do we know? Where is it on any website? Well, what we do know is that when they were under pressure to answer questions, and the last time was before a Senate committee, they confessed that there, in 2004, that there were 8,000, up to 8,000 survivors of tainted blood transfusions, and that 1,750 haemophiliacs have been infected with HIV and hepatitis C. So now, of course, they're not to be trusted, it has to be said, but those numbers, even on those numbers, this is by far Australia's deadliest medical scandal, right? That's still being covered up. So this look back thing that's supposed to search for them, Greg Ball just said it was more like a register for them. And here's a question I have. Okay, so they're the ones that infected us. They're the ones that lied. They're the ones that did all of these things. And they're the ones to do the search. Just a question, because I'm only a simple person. What incentive would the person that, infected you and in some cases knowingly gave you a product that was tainted, what incentive would they have to find you if you would probably remonstrate or sue them?
The question remains that, in my view, a crime has been committed. It's a product negligence case. It's like Coca-Cola poisoning 20,000 people.
Yes.
The product caused the injury.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Why, in 35, 40 years, has there never been one police investigation or one legal inquiry, independent legal inquiry into this issue when tens of thousands of Australians are affected? Why is there no database somewhere recording how many people have been infected? Surely as a public health risk and being put on a public health register, that register should contain people with hepatitis C. So surely New South Wales Health, Victorian Health, all of the states must have some form of record when a Hep C confirmation comes up in anyone's blood work.
Okay. So I felt so strongly. We used to have these meetings at Reverend Bill Cruz in Sydney at the Ashfield Uniting Church. And the classic about that was like the HQ for tainted blood victims. It's also a place where the homeless and people that just like to have a chat and lunch go to that fabulous restaurant that they have there, the Loaves and Fishes. I have to tell you something. It's in Ashfield. I have to tell you, it actually is fabulous. I walked past there for so many years, and I was so busy going this way and that way and up to things. And sometimes I didn't even have time to have a proper meal. And I just, the roasts and all of the wonderful aromas that came from the kitchen, just fantastic. But we'd have these meetings at Bill's church. And we've got some video on infectedbloodaustralia.com, the evidence they don't want you to see or didn't want you to see, I think that's called. But if you go there, you can see a meeting that I'm referring to at Bill's church, okay? And you've got parents who, their children, they found out years later that is because they've got Hep C or they've had Hep C and they've developed cirrhosis and they're chronically ill. They're very upset. They're very upset. And at this meeting, the Australian government, with all these victims there and parents with infected kids, the Australian government send their representative for people infected with this deadly virus, hepatitis C. Okay? And this representative chastises people in the audience because he says, I was watching a television program on the weekend, or there was something in the media, and people were referring to themselves as innocent victims. And this is in 2002, okay, in Australia. And to anyone watching internationally or anyone watching in the United Kingdom, my goodness, or in Canada, could you imagine you're a haemophiliac who was given a tainted blood product, and you know that by now, authorities knew it was tainted. And you've got these chronic conditions that you didn't ask for, and they're telling you not to say you're innocent, okay? Now, at that same meeting, at these meetings, we asked people, were you contacted by Look Back? Were you? Anyway, after the meeting, we put out a press release. We said, you know, this Look Back doesn't work. And do you know what the Australian Red Cross did? They came out and issued a press release and said that the claims that we were making, that victims were making, were unfounded, and that Look Back was a multi-million-dollar tracing system for viruses. And this is in 2002 that they said this, multi-million-dollar. He said it had dual systems. It was multi-million. I checked, it did. Tens of millions of dollars poured in. These guys were handling so much money for this virus surge, and yet everyone I ever met, never ever heard from them. What? So we were called liars by the people that were taking millions and millions of dollars to tell us that we've been infected with the virus, and yet no one ever heard from them. And now every time I go into a shop, I've got a QR code and I've got to do this. The same people that never told us about contaminated blood, the same people that allowed thousands of marriages to be destroyed because they didn't tell them that they had given a contaminated blood transfusion during childbirth, are the same people locking us down today. Extraordinary turn of events.
Well, it's plain to me that there is no justice at this point in time. There is no media outlet in this country, mainstream media outlet, will run this story. The question, therefore, is why? Are they being pressured by certain entities, business or political? You know, why isn't this story where tens of thousands of Australians are affected? If a cruise ship crashed into another cruise ship out on the ocean and 10,000, 20,000 people sunk and died, we'd have Four Corners and every other TV outlet flying over the wreckage and, you know, weeping into their microphones. But, you know, here we have 20,000 plus, who knows how many people out there who've been affected by this, and there's not one investigation, there's not one Four Corners report. There's no, interestingly enough, there is no, this is a public health issue. Hepatitis C, HIV are reportable illnesses, okay? So why haven't we seen an ad campaign that is a public service announcement saying there is, you know, there is the possibility that anyone that has received blood in the last X number of years may have contained hepatitis C or whatever. AIDS and HIV would certainly be a lot more prominent because of the effects, the quicker effects of it. But why was there no health campaign, public health campaign, to promote this? Why are people still today, the average citizen thinks that there's, you know, there's nothing wrong. They've never heard of this, you know. And
yeah, absolutely. So, and, you know, very importantly, you know, HIV, they had blanket recalls for tainted blood. So what that meant was if you had received a blood transfusion, you'd come in for HIV testing during that risk period, okay? And if you'd had a blood product like Factor VIII, which was used by haemophiliacs, they would be called back in, okay, and tested, all right? Now, what happened was, this is in 1985. Now, you might remember, Sue, you and I will definitely remember, that Ita Buttrose, the current chair of Australia's Australian Broadcasting Corporation, the ABC, was the face of Australia's AIDS campaign, the AIDS awareness campaign of the 1980s. And Ita was also a blood promoter. Here it is. Again, it looks the wrong way around. Sorry about that. I keep doing that. But it says, if giving is in your blood, please read on. You'll see a picture of Ita. There she is, a picture. And you'll see that I've highlighted a part in red there. And that's where Ita is talking about how they need more people to come in and be good because they've got to purify these haemophilia treatments and donate blood. You know, come in and donate blood. You go in and you donate blood plasma to the Australian Red Cross, and they'd send it to this Commonwealth Serum Laboratories, CSL. This is the makers of the AZ jab today. And these products, Ita said, in 1985 were purified. Well, 1,750 haemophiliacs ended up with hepatitis C. And how can that be when she said they were purified, right? Well, get this. This is the outrage. They had her as the face of the AIDS campaign, and they did blanket recalls for blood products that might have been exposed or compromised by HIV. but they never did a blanket recall for the Hep C compromised factor VIII blood products or the blood transfusions. And that was the more pervasive. That was the bigger thing. HIV, of course, is deadly. I'm not, no, of course. But so too is hepatitis C. And this was happening tens of thousands. You know, HIV, there's no suggestion that HIV has infected tens of thousands in Australia through the blood supply. No one's doing that. No, it hasn't. But hepatitis C, yes. And we don't know exactly the toll. It is, ladies and gentlemen, it is Australia's deadliest medical scandal. I believe this is a criminal cover-up, and I think Sue does too. Sue, what do we do? What do you think we do to get justice? Because things are going very badly with public health. What can we do? How can we get to do this?
I think we need the help of the public. You know, I think we really need people watching to share this story, right to their local member, right to Scott Morrison, right to Greg Hunt. Let them know that this is unacceptable. A crime has been committed. It needs to be investigated. When you knowingly infect someone with a life-threatening disease, to me, that's tantamount to attempted murder. And then when that person dies, it's a murder charge, in my view. Now, I don't understand how we can be in this situation when Canada, when they knew about this, within a very short period of time, they had an investigation and they compensated people in, I think, 96 or 97. You know, okay, they put their hand up, we've done the wrong thing, let's cop it on the chin and move on. Now, Australians are all about having a fair go. Where is the fair go for innocent victims of the contaminated blood scandal?